Great looking jars. I mean, these are gorgeous candles. Well, I don't know. I mean, let's talk about these two gorgeous candles, shall we? Which actually ended up being a good thing. Not a huge deal. It's quite common with candles, but I do think there is some room for improvement with that. So there's a little bit of give and take, and you just got to play with that. You've got a range of variables there, and you just want to play with those a little bit. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for stopping by. Today, we're going to be reviewing some candles sent in by one of you subscribers by the name of Melanie Marchetti. Her business name is Candle Legacies. If this is the first time you've seen one of these subscriber candle review videos, we spend the first several minutes talking about the presentation. We'll look at the box, the labels, packaging. We'll talk about the fragrance, the cold throw, labels if I didn't already mention that. And then of course I'll also make some guesses. Now, if you plan on doing any of these, just know that you don't have to have a full presentation. You don't need to have a full business. You don't need to have packaging and presentation all worked out and all this fancy stuff. You don't even have to have labels. I will do these reviews for anyone, even if you're just working on your candles and they're in development and testing and you're in the early stages, looking for a helping hand, looking for some constructive feedback along the way. That being said, the other thing we'll talk about in the first part of this video is the materials being used, or at least the ones I think are being used. So if you've seen these review videos before, you know I like to make some guesses on the wax being used, the wicks being used, maybe even the fragrances, really anything that comes to mind. And then sometimes at the end, we'll be told what we're working with by the candle maker themselves. So I don't know if that's the case yet. We'll look here once we get into the box. And if that is the case, at the very end of the video, I will let you know if I was right or if I was wrong and how badly I might have been wrong. But anyways, the second part of this video is also me providing additional feedback after I've had a chance to test these candles and let you know how the testing went. In that section of the video, we're going to talk about wicking, the overall performance of the candle, the hot throw, and everything like that. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so we've got the box open here, and as you can see, we've got, looks like two main products packaged in their own box very nicely, and then surrounded by packing peanuts and a little bit of bubble wrap. I would have no concerns with damage while these are being shipped. We're going to take everything out real quick. All right, so I'm gonna set the boxes aside first. All right, so we have an open first and an open last, which means she has definitely seen these videos before. So we're gonna open this up and see what she wants to share with us before we get started. And then the open last is because this is gonna fact check me at the end. So we're gonna set this one aside for now, come back to that later. In this letter from Melanie, I'm not going to read it word for word, but to summarize, it says that her and her husband started this candle company. She's been a candle maker for a long time as a hobby. She loved it so much she wanted to turn it into a business, and she was fortunate enough to be able to do so. They actually launched this October, so brand new business, but she's been making candles for a while, and she was interested in sending in the candles for review and was also interested in me trying to make some guesses on the materials. We have two different candles here, Ocean Drive, and the other is Coffee Aroma. I love both of those type of fragrances, so yay. Although, to be perfectly honest, I love so many types of fragrances. At this point, I feel like I like them all. I don't know. I mean, there are some that I guess I don't. But anyways, we're going to open up Ocean Drive first because the coffee ones are usually overwhelming a little bit, like really potent. So, and I don't want that kind of mess with my sense of smell as we move to the ocean one. Okay. Well, first thing I'll notice, if anyone has not seen this type of packing material before, but it's just kind of crinkle cut paper that maybe get a better idea of it once I get out here. Let me talk about that first. I know some people like this, and I think it's a creative idea. It looks kind of nice. It's unique. It's different. In my personal experience, I never thought it really offered much protection, but it still looks nice. And in this case, she might not be using it for protection because there was packing peanuts in the box. This was in a box. And then it was put into another shipping box. So this might just be for pure looks. Got a label on it that says, "Good things are coming, Candle Legacies." And this is the one that is the ocean fragrance. So it has a different label. This isn't a product label. The product label was on the box. And in this case, it's more of just kind of a motivational, fun sticker, in this case, is the way I would describe it. And now we're to the actual product, and it has, oh my gosh, wow, gorgeous. I've seen these vessels before. I want to say these are from Wick Co., but I could be wrong. I might have seen them somewhere else. They are gorgeous. It's got that holographic, multicolored look. Man, I hope the candle is going to show, the camera. I hope the camera is going to show how gorgeous this is. And what a perfect jar look for the name, Ocean Drive. You got all these like rainbow colors and oh my gosh, great. This is excellent. These look really, really nice. It also says on it, oh, by the way, the Labels are kind of this vinyl material, so high quality gloss labels, definitely high quality. It feels almost like a vinyl to me, but anyways, great looking labels. Big fragrance name on the front. These are 12-ounce candles. Great, simple, but effective label. And it says soy wax blend candle. We'll use that information when we make our guess here in a minute. Let's go ahead and open this up. Oh man, that's so good. Well, I don't know exactly what fragrance it is. It's a springy fragrance or a springy summery fragrance for sure, but I don't really know. I would be making random guesses at this point, but it's really nice. It's really good. It's mostly floral, but there's like a touch of something either citrus or sweet in it. I'm having a real hard time trying to figure out what it is, but it's a really nice fragrance, and I think it perfectly matches the name. So let's talk about inside the jar, like the actual material, the actual candle. Okay, we're going to talk about the wax and the wicks here. So right off the bat here, we're seeing a few things that are giving me hints to the materials being used. And so let's talk about those. Let's talk about the wax. It's a soft wax, but it has sort of this greasy yet almost powdery feel to it. Now, anyone that uses these couple waxes that I think are in this will know exactly what I'm talking about if you use them. A softish, sort of greasy, but a little bit of a weird powdery touch almost. It's kind of hard to describe. What may not be noticeable in the candles is these little, almost kind of small beads just underneath. Like they're not actual beads, but they're like dots, like white dots. It's almost like a mix of frosting, but not really, and almost like fragrance drops too. It's sort of hard to describe, and I apologize, I'm not explaining it very well. Long story short, I'm pretty sure we're dealing with a coconut soy wax here. I don't know which one though. I mean, there are lots. There is a coconut, or a C6, I believe is the coconut soy. I don't think it's that, because I've used that and it's a little firmer than this. This seems a little bit softer. I don't know what specific type of coconut soy wax it is. I'm pretty sure this is coconut soy wax. It has the feel, the look, the texture. That'd be my guess. Any of you that use a coconut soy wax, you might know exactly what I'm talking about with that, the way it feels. Soft, smooth. When I say greasy, I don't mean that in a bad way. You know what I mean? Just kind of that, I don't know, coconut type feeling. Like coconut oil, right? It's got that soft, silky texture. And then you occasionally get these kind of almost dryish, powdery spots. I don't know how to describe it. I really don't. Hopefully some of you know what I'm talking about. And then you can get my back here in the comment section. That's my guess on the wax. Coconut soy. Which one? I don't know, but that's my guess. Let's talk about the wicks here. 3 most popular wicks I see used with coconut soy blends is CD, CDN, and Eco. I do see some HTPs as well. These are not HTPs looking at them, I can tell. So that leaves Eco, CD, and CDN. CD and CDNs are extremely similar. In fact, they're both Stabilo wicks. They're the same wick type. The only difference is a CDN wick has a different chemical treatment on it that helps with natural waxes like soy and soy coconut. So yeah, it makes sense to use either one of those in this wax. I actually lean towards CDN a little bit more than CD in these type of waxes, but I don't think either one of those is right. Looking at the wicks here, if the camera will pick it up, it is a cotton wick just like the others. It definitely has some paper threading just like the others, just like an HTP, CD, or CDN. But Eco wicks have a distinct difference in the paper threads being used in the wick itself, and that is that the threads are wider apart. So if you know what I'm talking about with threaded wicks, they have those little threads going through them, and they kind of make these little V's on each side of the wick. Eco wicks, V's are further apart. It's usually a thicker it's usually a thicker wick, and then the threads are further apart. So my guess on the wick would be an Eco wick. As far as the size, well, there's 2 of them. It's a big jar, but Eco wicks burn hot and get these big flames, so you really want to use small ones almost all of the time. Even with your natural waxes, you can overwick an Eco wick candle. So I would say probably a couple Eco 4s, maybe 2s. If it was me, I'd probably use a couple 2s, but I don't know because I don't use this wax or Eco wicks very often, but that would be my guess. Now, one little comment I want to give real quick on this particular candle is a couple things. The wicks aren't exactly centered. They're definitely over to one side of the glass more than the other. It can be hard to wick these and center them. in these type of jars unless you've got some type of template. So if you don't, I'm sure some people in the comment section can recommend something. I'm working on something as well to help you guys out down the road. But I would work on just trying to center them a little bit more. It's really challenging unless you have some kind of tool that can do it for you. But just as importantly, I would bring your wicks closer together just a tad. Right now, they're closer to the edge of the jar than they are to each other. And you usually want the opposite. You don't want them right next to each other, but you definitely don't want them this close to the edge of the glass. One of them is awfully close. I like to keep my wicks about 1 inch apart, but definitely at least 1 inch away from the side wall. So I would bring both your wicks in a little bit closer and then center them a little bit better. And other than that, you've got a gorgeous looking candle here. I cannot wait to burn it. The fragrance is awesome, but the jar is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, let's move on to Coffee Aroma. Another gorgeous jar. It is the same jar, so this must be kind of a theme. Coffee fragrances can be tough. I love the smell of coffee. I think most people do, probably, but they can be tough to get right. I've gone through a lot of coffee fragrances. In fact, I've talked about some on fragrance review videos that some smell great, and I think other comments I've made is that some smell like an old shoe. I mean, so they can smell great or smell awful. So it's important to pick a good coffee fragrance oil. I'm imagining they did. This is the one they settled on. So I'm excited to try it out. Oh, that's different. Okay, so it's not pure coffee though. It is like it's almost got a little like caramel, something sweet. It's anyone had a caramel brulee latte from Starbucks? That's what it reminds me of a little bit. Or a French vanilla cappuccino. One of those. It is a sweet coffee, almost like a cappuccino or a latte. Really good. All right, so definitely not a regular kind of black coffee fragrance like I normally smell. This is different, and this is very, very good. I hope this burns great because I really like this. Yes, awesome. I'm not going to talk about all the same stuff we did in the first jar because everything is the same. The wax is the same. Well, I don't know. I mean, the wax actually feels different, but it's not. I mean, this one looks like it may have been smoothed out a little bit more with a heat gun or something like that, just because you can see some waves and lines. Or maybe it's from shipping. And the wicks look to be the exact same too. Ecos, 2s or 4s. This one is definitely centered a little bit better in the jar. The wicks are. But I would still bring the wicks in just a little bit closer together. About 1 inch apart at the most. So if you brought each one in about 1/4 to 1/2 inch towards each other, they would be perfect. I'm going to let you know, obviously, though, after we burn these, how the testing went and how they actually burned. I'd still be a little concerned that if they are ecos, that they could be too much wick. But again, I don't use this wax. And I know coconut soy waxes can sometimes need that extra heat. So we'll see how it goes. Ocean Drive fragrance, the best, just because of how much I liked it right off the bat. And it's really good still. But I haven't had a coffee fragrance like this one before. So this is my favorite of the two personally. These are both excellent fragrances. If the rest of your fragrances are anything like these two selections, you've got a home run on your fragrance selection. Great job, great looking jars. I mean, these are gorgeous candles. So excellent job. Very interested in trying this coconut soy wax out. And of course the wicking. And I'm really curious if it is a coconut soy, which I would bet money on it that it is. I'd be curious which one specifically it is. That's up to you if you want to share. Maybe we'll find out in your letter. I don't know. But those are my guesses. Coconut soy, eco wicks, awesome fragrances, great looking jars. Excellent job so far. You should have no problems. Adjust the position of the wicks a little bit. Other than that, you're off to a great start. Guys, I'm going to be back here in just a second. I'm going to cut into the future where Future Wade is going to be talking about how the testing went, burning these candles. Yes, I just referred to myself in third person. Sorry about that. Although, is it still referring to yourself in third person if you're actually referring to yourself at a later time? I mean, if I said, Wade thinks this is a great fragrance, that's obviously speaking about myself in third person. But if I say Future Wade, is that still third person? I don't know. Anyways, I'm excited to get tested on these, so I'll be back in just a minute. But before I go, thank you, first of all, Melanie, for sending these in and trusting me with some feedback here. I'm excited to get started, and if anyone else is interested in sending in any candles or products for review, let me know in the comments section. I just want to mention that in case I forget at the end of the video. And if you're interested in checking out any other similar videos like this, I have a whole playlist, 2 subscriber candle reviews, if you'd like to check them out. It's fun because in the community, we get to see each other's products and learn from one another. These are a blast. I love doing these. All right, I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Let's talk about these 2 gorgeous candles, shall we? We're going to start off with Coffee Aroma, and then we're going to finish up with Ocean Drive. First and foremost, again, these are just spectacular looking candles. I love the kind of prism effect of these jars. I believe these jars can be bought at Wooden Wick Company. They are just gorgeous tumblers. Most of the time you're going to use either wooden wicks in these jars or multi-wick these jars because of the size, because of the diameter. One wick alone will be really challenging. So as we talked about in the first part of this video, these are clearly double wicked. My guess on these wicks were Eco wicks, either Eco 2s or Eco 4s. It's kind of tough to tell, but that would be my just kind of speculative guess there. And then the wax type, if you remember, I guessed that I was pretty sure it's just a coconut soy wax. It does say soy wax blend on the candle, but I am fairly confident it's some type of coconut added in there as well, just because of the texture of the wax. And that was reinforced a little bit for me on the way it burned. Speaking of which, let's talk about the way these burned. As I mentioned, we're going to start off with a coffee aroma. Now, this is not your typical kind of brute coffee, kind of straight black coffee type of fragrance. It's not super bold. This is more of a kind of a latte, like cafe type coffee drink. So like a mocha or frappuccino or something like that. So it's a little bit sweeter than your standard coffee. It's a really, really good coffee scent. I enjoyed both the cold throw and the hot throw of this fragrance. It wasn't as overpowering and strong burning as I thought it might be, which actually ended up being a good thing because I was a little worried it would be overpowering, as a lot of coffee fragrances are. It did not turn out to be the case. It actually smelled quite pleasant. As far as the way this one burned, and this is going to be kind of a consistent theme between both of these, is I do think that they were potentially overwicked maybe one size. So if they are Eco 4s, I would try an Eco 2. If you're already using an Eco 2, you might try an Eco 1 or even possibly a different wick. So they burned fine and the hot throw was spectacular, and you don't want to sacrifice that necessarily, or at least too much, but they did produce quite a bit of black smoke and soot the longer they burned. And that's just because there was two of them and they were quite hot in that jar. And so they were trying to consume the wax a lot faster than they probably should have. And that kicked around some smoke and soot. Not a huge deal. It's quite common with candles, but I do think there is some room for improvement with that if you want to try a different wick size. So I'm going to be showing some footage here of each of the candles burning at different stages. You can see they both started off really, really well. And then the further they got down in the jar, you did start to see a little bit too much flame and a little bit too much heat and some of that smoke and soot kicking off a little bit. That was whether I trimmed them or not. So if I gave it long enough, I gave it, a couple hours of burning, it would really start to get a little bit too large of a flame, at least in my opinion, or at least in these particular ones that I tested. And then as I talked about in the first part of the video, another thing that might help you is bringing these wicks in a little bit closer. And so if you bring them in a little bit closer, first of all, the side of the jars will not get near as hot, but also bringing them in a little bit closer together, those wicks can work together a little bit better to kind of generate the heat that you need to spread out the melt pool. And it should allow you to wick down even one size smaller. So again, if you're doing a Eco 4, go to an Eco 2 and so on. Bring them in a little bit closer. You want them about an inch apart. Right now, they're about an inch and a half apart. But more concerning is that they're just a little bit too close to the wall of the jar. They're probably 3/4 of an inch away from the side of the jar. If you brought each wick in about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch, that would give you plenty of room around the wicks on both sides, but close enough together that they can help each other out. I think you'll end up with a better burning candle, and you won't see near as much soot, black smoke kicking around on the side of the jar as well. Next up, let's talk about Ocean Drive. Now this one ended up being my favorite of the fragrances. It's a little bit of a perfume with a kind of a fresh kind of linen type fragrance and a little bit of floral as well. So it was a really good combination. I absolutely love this fragrance. This was my favorite. Very clean, very refreshing, it just gives you good feels, like good vibes. It definitely makes you think about being on the beach or being on vacation, I would say. So I really, really enjoyed the fragrance. This one had the exact same type of burn profile as the coffee aroma fragrance did. Both wicks were a little bit hot, a little bit large flames with some smoke and soot splashing around a little bit. These wicks were actually even a little bit closer to the side wall. So once again, I would bring them in a little bit closer. I don't know if the camera will show here, but they're really close to the edge of the jar. And so I would bring them in so that they're only about an inch apart. They're a good 2 inches apart in this one. If the camera will show it, I'm not sure. But bringing those two in will definitely help you out. And then you can wick down a little bit as well. This one had the same issue with the smoke and soot kind of being kicked around on the side of the walls. The reason you're seeing a lot of it on these jars is because the wicks were so close to the side of the jar, and that was also creating these weird drafts. And when that happens, you're going to get more of the flickering, more of the smoke kind of, splashing around a little bit, but that's also getting caught on the side of the jar, which isn't a bad thing, but that's why you're seeing it more on these candles than you would others. So again, I would wick down just a little bit, bring the wicks in a little bit closer together. The hot throw on these was great, and I would not be worried about losing that just because you're wicking down a little bit. In my personal opinion, and this goes for the way I make my candles too, is you really want two things. There's two goals when you're making candles. You want good performing candles, but you still want them safe. And in my opinion, you should never sacrifice the safety part just for the great hot throw and the great burning performance of them. However, the other way around, you have a little bit more flexibility. I think you can tweak and play with the performance a little bit to maintain that safety. You've got a little bit more give in that direction. So I would focus on, first of all, making a good candle. And then once you've got a good solid foundation like you definitely have here, then you can start to certainly tweak that a little bit and see what can I do to still maintain the good performance, but maybe improve the safety a little bit, maybe cut back on the smoke and soot just a little bit. What can I do? What little changes can I make that might just increase both, or at least continue to support the performance while improving the other characteristics as well? So there's a little bit of give and take, and you just got to play with that. You've got a range of variables there, and you just want to play with those a little bit. And like I said, for the good, top third of this candle, they were burning just fine. It was really about halfway down that you really started to see kind of the larger flames. And you actually need a little bit less of a flame as the further you go down in the jar, just because that residual heat gets trapped in, and that's going to help you with that milk pool a little bit. So you're not going to have to worry about hang up or tunneling or anything like that. You were far from that. You were getting a very good clean burn as far as the wax goes. So there's really only a couple little points to take here, things that you might consider trying. One is to lower the wick size a little bit, or maybe even a different wick type if you have to, and then bring the wicks in a little bit closer. Other than that, everything was spot on. Gorgeous looking candles, great fragrance, great design, great theme and niche and everything. So everything was really, really good. And I while I enjoy both fragrances, I haven't really had that ocean drive fragrance before. I'm not entirely sure what it is, to be honest, but I really did enjoy it. However, we're not quite done. One thing left. We have the open last envelope. So first part of the video, we were told a little bit about the product and a little bit about the company. And now it is time to open the open last envelope. All right, so as far as, she says, here are the answers to your guesses. So here we go. The wax is a soy coconut blend. All right, so check, we got one right off the bat. Now it does say just soy wax blend, but I did mention the characteristics, the feel. To me, it felt like some coconut in it. I don't know how much coconut's in it, and I don't know what type of blend they're using specifically, but I did feel like there was a little bit of coconut in there just because of the smoother tops and pretty good jar adhesion. I didn't see any rough, I didn't see any frosting, anything like that. So was not too shocked to see a soy coconut blend here. As far as the wicks go, she says the wicks are in fact Eco 2. So not Eco 4s, they are Eco 2s, which means your only options to go lower would be an Eco 1. And then if that doesn't work, you might consider trying a different wick type, like a CD or a CD-in. Both work well with soy coconut blend waxes, so give those a shot as well. She says all the labels are in Candle Care Card are designed by her on Canva, so very, very common approach these days. I make some of my marketing material, some of my labels and designs on Canva, others in Photoshop. It really just depends what I'm trying to do, but they are very good looking and very consistent with your theme and overall look and design. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope this helped you a little bit as far as some tips and tricks and things to maybe consider trying to improve your candles just a little bit. We're always all trying to make better products and improve what we currently do. So hopefully that can help out a little bit there, but overall, very, very good product. If anyone else is interested in doing that, just let me know in the comments section if you are interested in me checking out and reviewing your candles here on the channel. I am quite backed up at the moment, I will say that, so you can feel free to reach out to me and we can coordinate it, but thank you all for being patient as I get through these. More than anything, I appreciate you all for being here. If you're interested in any more candle review videos, I have an entire playlist to other subscriber candle reviews, or if you're interested in learning more about candle making in general, then I have another playlist for that as well. Thank you all for being here. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about certain fragrances? Do you like these clean, outdoorsy, kind of refreshing fragrances? Or are you more of an indoor bakery type fragrance, kind of those food smells? So I'll be curious what you all think. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Thanks.